Well, I just looked at the watch, and it's only 10 o'clock at the evening, so that's too early to stop being in the shop. So I'm gonna continue. I really don't know what I'm gonna do. I just want to throw some clay, so I'll do that. This time it's no grog or chamot in the clay, it's just normal stoneware clay. I'm compressing the clay now in the bottom. And I'm always compressing the clay here at the rim too. And I'm always trying to feel the thickness of the wall so that it's as even as I can all the way around. I'm not that good at it. I need to practice a lot more. I can feel it's uneven a little bit here and there. And I'm going to take a rib. It's called rib in English because in the early days of pottery they used cow ribs to do this. And it's I'm going to use one rib on the inside and one rib on the outside so that the wall will be even and smooth before I start shaping it. In the United States, the clay is a completely different type, and most clays in the States they don't allow this much water because it collapses. But clays over here and in England can take a lot more water than American clay. Actually, this is my 5th pull, and you should never pull more than 4 times because somehow the clay loses its plasticity and sturdiness. but I'm a beginner, so it doesn't matter. So now I'm shaping it. I've decided to make a carafe. I don't know if it's called like that in English. A vessel to keep water in, that with a handle. And my finger on the inside here is pushing out slightly towards the rib, the metal rib. And that way I'm shaping it. The more I push, the more it goes out. This clay is smooth as a newborn baby's skin. It's not like the other clay with a grog in it. It's so smooth. It's really enjoyable to work with. Porcelain is even smoother and even nicer to work with. I have maybe 20 kilos that I'm gonna use in a few days. But porcelain is more tricky. It's actually quite tricky to throw with porcelain. Porcelain has no plasticity, or hardly any, so it's very unforgiving. This clay, which is sort of like a beginner's clay, it's very forgiving. You know, if you mess it up, you can easily just fix it. Porcelain is very difficult in that sense. You have to know exactly what you do and then do it right. Otherwise, it will collapse. A jug, I think it's called, yeah. It's like cutting in butter. Just like with people, the beauty of the character comes from the inside. So really, pots are made from the inside. The outside follows usually the inside, and that which has not become perfect on the outside, you can easily just turn when it's leather hard. The inside, however, is you can't really do much about what once the clay has dried. And the insides are very difficult to make smooth and nice shape. I have yet to make an inside that I feel good enough about. That's the whole trade, really, the whole craft. Well, that's good enough. I want to push it because I want to destroy it now. Well, I think that's about it, and I'm just gonna compress the rim here. You know, make the pipe, or you know, I don't know what it's called, where you pour from. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but these two fingers that I held here, they were dry. And since they were dry, the clay at that point, those points, stayed there. And this finger, I wet it and moved the clay out. If these two fingers were wet, the whole rim here would be deformed. Now it's still round, exactly around here. That's a trick I learned from Simon Leach pottery on YouTube. I think I'll leave it there. Now, of course, again, I should be called the forgetful potter because I forget so many things. I forgot to put one of these boards underneath, so now it's going to be very difficult to get it off here without deforming it. So again, I will have to resolve it with a gas burner. But I like doing that, so I guess it's okay. And then I'll just let it sit on the wheel for a couple of hours before I move it. Then it's probably hard and sturdy enough so it won't deform. But I'm gonna cut it now though, and then heat it up. This is one of the mugs, tea mugs that I made in the Studieförbundets Medborgarskolans course in ceramics 3 years ago. I think there was that mug that bit me hard, in a good way. And this one is for Mehmet. He enjoys watching the flame. real potters, they scorn at this, I think. I mean, it's okay if for making the big pots, then you need to do it, but not this small. But as I said, it's because I'm the forgetful potter. So I'm just gonna let it sit here for a couple of hours. So before I go to bed, I'll try to lift it on the plate. Now I'm gonna pull the handle for this because so it's already made for tomorrow when I turn this pot, make a foot on it, and then I'll attach the handle tomorrow, inshallah. Okay, so now I'm gonna pull the handle for this pot. And during which time I hope I don't hit this jug. So first I'll make a carrot shape. I had too much clay here, I think. If you look at on my channel, I have some playlists. I have one playlist called Clay Inspiration, and I will fill it with more clay videos from the real potters. It's amazing to watch, actually. Then I flatten the carrot like that. Get a good grip, and then start pulling. For you, this will be in fast forward. For me, not so. So I go very gentle on this, because if you press too hard, the whole thing will just fall off and break. And in the end, I'll also let go on the pressure even more, so that it will be a bit thicker here and a bit thicker here. This is where I'm going to connect it, and this is where I'm going to connect it to the pot. It's good to keep the clay dry here, otherwise you'll drop it. And I got it wet. And it's quite difficult to know, actually, for me, how long I should pull it, because I don't want to cut it off here when it's thin. I want it to be a bit thicker where it grabs the pot, and also here a bit thicker. So I don't know. I'm always just guessing. When you make handles for small tea mugs and things like that, it doesn't really matter, because then the thickness can be pretty much the same everywhere, because it's a light pot. But this is quite a heavy pot, and imagine it filled with, I don't know, 2.5 liters of water, half a gallon of water or milk. So now it's hanging like this. I'll let it hang like that for maybe a couple of hours, and then I'll put it under plastic so it doesn't dry out. Well, that is it, folks. Now I'm gonna clean up. That usually takes 45 minutes every day, because the dust from the dry clay is not very healthy to breathe. So that's also where before I start working, I usually spray my apron and clothes with water, so the dust will not be dusty, so the clay will be wet, so I don't get it in my lungs. And the same thing with the floor. I clean up, and vacuum, and I keep the vacuum cleaner outside while I'm vacuuming so that the dust don't circle around in here. And then I clean my tools, of course, and that's about it. Alrighty, take care, Assalamu alaikum.